welcome Miss Michelle Gable.
Thank you, everyone, for being here and taking some time in the middle of your day to have lunch and listen to me speak. Thank you to Deandra and the Friends of the Library and the library itself. I am a huge library fan. I was one of those kids that would go and check out 10 books and then have to go back the next day because I had gone through them all and drove my mom crazy. And I recently read a book it's called Palaces of the People. And it's about how important libraries are to the communities they serve, and actually that we should be investing more in libraries. Think about it, it's a place where anybody can go, the entire world, you can access any sort of information you need, and you can pick whatever you want. You can fully be yourself. So I do encourage everyone to support the library, as Deandra mentioned. I'm going to talk a little bit about my background and how I became a writer, and then about this book in particular, The Summer I Met Jack. And after that, I'm happy to answer whatever questions you guys have about me, about my books, about any of it. As Deandra said, I started writing when I was about 10. I was a big reader, and my parents saw something in me that I liked to write. And they gave me a book for my 10th birthday called Someday You'll Write. And I used to tell the story that my dad gave me the book, but then my mom was like, excuse me, because everyone knows, right, the mom buys the present for the dad to give to the kids. So my parents gave me that book, and from that point on, I just wrote all the time. I would write short stories, terrible novels, whatever I felt like. I don't think I really thought, I want to be a writer. It was just something I loved and something I did, and it reflected, I'm reading these books. I love books. I still do. So I'm just kind of doing it on my own. I graduated from high school in San Diego. I grew up in San Diego and came to the College of William & Mary, as she said, and majored in accounting. Yes, that's right. I knew I loved writing. I liked numbers too. I got the same score on both sides of the SAT. And I also knew that I liked to eat and pay rent and all those good things, and that my parents were not going to support any starving artist lifestyle, so I needed to have a legitimate career. Not that writing's not legitimate, but you can't just graduate from college and start earning a paycheck. But all that time I wrote and I wrote and I wrote. I took English classes, I took creative writing classes, whatever I could fit in, I took it. I graduated and then went to DC and started my career in finance in DC, and I continued to write all this time, all these years. And if you didn't know, unless you knew me really well, you would have had no idea. You would have just thought I was like that numbers person that you knew. But it was just something I always did. I've always, and also kept being a really big reader. I don't think you can be a writer unless you're a reader first. And I kept writing and writing. I moved my husband back to San Diego, kept at it, and we had our first child. And then it was the night of my 31st birthday, I said to him, I think I'm going to do something with this writing thing. I'm going to try to get an agent, try to get published, go that traditional route. And I think he was a little taken aback. I don't think he realized just how serious I was about this writing I did on the sly. So I gussied up a manuscript and I sent it out, and I got an agent, and it wasn't that easy. I'm shortening the timeline here. Many, many rejections, but I got the perfect agent for me. And she sent out that manuscript to the publishers, and it didn't sell. And I wrote another book, and she sent that out, and that didn't sell. And neither did the next one, the next one, or the next one after that. So people ask how many manuscripts were rejected, and I have a CPA, but I cannot count that high. So I don't know. A lot. But I just told myself, that's fine. I will just write another book and another book and another book after that. And if my first book comes out when I'm 85, I am going to be very seasoned and a great writer by that point. So it's going to be the best book. So yet again, this is several years after my agent is pitching my books, and agents don't get paid until you get paid. So she's working for me for free. I'm telling her, honestly, you can fire me, you need to feed your family. She's like, no, I believe in you. So I sent her a manuscript, and she sent it out to 5 editors, and all 5 within 24 hours said, I have to have this novel, it's so great, I want to buy it. So she said an auction, which is a very good thing for a writer. It's like a bidding war on your house. Well, on the day of the auction, one by one, every editor dropped out. And the reason they gave was that I was a debut author, and debut authors were just too hard to sell. So, now this was a little bit bad timing because this was 2010, and the economy was bad. And it was really bad for publishers. They're not the best business people, in my opinion. And they were just kind of not really willing to take a risk on an unknown, and they wanted to bank on the people that, they know if they put out a James Patterson, millions of people will buy it. So, flash forward, I'm just kind of thinking, okay, well, what can I do? How am I ever gonna, I was determined, I was persevering all these years, but how was I ever gonna get over this debut author hump? Was I have to go on a reality show, commit a crime? I didn't know. So I was sort of stuck and I didn't know what to write next. I had lots of ideas, but I had to assess, am I doing this for myself? Am I doing this for other people? Why am I writing? I went on a business trip to Europe, to Paris and London, and I returned home, and my agent sent me an email, and she had seen an article where a woman had died in the south of France, and she was 90 years old, and when they went through her estate, they found out that she'd had this apartment that she'd locked in Paris 70 years before, sealed up, and never returned. And when they opened it, it was filled floor to rafters with unimaginable treasures, antiques, these things that were antiques even when she locked it up in 1940, artwork, just amazing pieces. And a key to this was a portrait done by the portrait artist Giovanni Boldini, who was known to paint all the women of the day. And it was a portrait of the courtesan who once lived in this apartment, and it sold for over €2 million at auction, which was the highest ever sold for one of his very famous portraits. And my agent said, I think you can do something with this. I think you can write about this. And so I did. I'm very lucky because she has maybe 30 clients that she picked me to send it to. Of course, I was making her $0, so she had a little bit of incentive. And also, I had just returned from Paris for work. So I actually think in that manner, my day job helped. So that book came out. I wrote that book. We ended up selling it. Barely, everybody rejected it. St. Martin's Press was like the last house that hadn't rejected it. And my agent she got very exasperated and said a bunch of curse words, and then she's like, this is it. You deserve to be published. Hold on, I'm calling them right now. And then she called me back and had a deal on the table. I don't know what she threatened or promised her firstborn, but we did a deal. And what's really funny now is that all these publishers come back to her and say, well, why didn't you ever give me a crack at Michelle Gable? And she's like, you've rejected like 6 of her novels. So Paris Apartment came out 5 years ago in 2014. And as I mentioned, my parents gave me that book when I turned 10. I told my husband on my 31st birthday that I wanted to try to do this professionally. And then A Paris Apartment came out a few weeks before I turned 40. So it was 30 years in the making. And my parents still had the book that they'd given me. And you can see a dog chewed it up, and it has my little writings inside. And my mom wrote in there, Michelle, we had an inkling in 1984 when Mom gave you this book. You had a knack for writing, not just someday, but every day. And that was really the case. That book came out and did pretty well right out of the gate. I remember once Cindy Crawford tweeted about it, and my actual first thought was, oh my gosh, my mom knows Cindy Crawford. Because in my mind, like nobody could have heard of my work except unless they were in a bridge group with my mother. And my second book came out about a year and a half later, and then my third book came out in 2017. But we're here to talk about The Summer I Met Jack, which is my fourth book. And for those, as was mentioned by Deandra, yes, that Jack, JFK. And I was writing an entirely different book when the idea for this book came, about the Civil War, actually. And my editor this time saw an article about a woman, again, who had died. And the headline read, and this was in 2016, the headline read, Did JFK and Alicia Corning Clark have a secret love child? The first paragraph reads, lawyers for a Manhattan socialite are investigating if she had a secret child from her rumored affair with John F. Kennedy. Alicia Corning Clark passed away in February at the age of 79 with no children, family, or friends. But administrators of her $17.5 million estate are now looking for any unknown heirs in case anyone would contest her will. So she might have had heirs, thanks to JFK. Now, when you're talking John F. Kennedy, there's no shortage of potential love children out there, right? But something about Alicia in particular really intrigued me. And I've always been a Kennedy file, Kennedy watcher. I'm not really sure why. My parents, I'm too young to, he passed away before I was born. My parents were even too young to have voted for him. Not that they would have, but I remember being home from college and being in my dad's library and picking Reckless Youth out, a book about JFK. And ever since then, I've just been enamored. I'll read anything. It can be by some second cousin, a step, whatever. It doesn't matter. I'll read any Kennedy book that comes out. And my editor, I'm not sure how my editor remembered this, but she was absolutely correct. I'd always wanted to write a Kennedy book, but I was intimidated. They're the Kennedys, right? And there's so many of them, and they're so naughty. Where do you start? But when I read about Alicia, I knew that immediately. I just scratched the surface and knew she was my angle, and right away, and it was a good follow-up. We decided my third book takes place on Nantucket, and with the Hyannisport Cape Cod connection, we thought it would be a good follow-up. And so then I went deep into my research. And my third book, interestingly enough, was the Book of Summer was my easiest book to write. It was a joy, start to finish. It was so easy. When I turned in my first book, my editorial letter, which is all the things from your editor that's wrong with the book and you need to change, was 12 pages single-spaced. For the Book of Summer, it was a one-line email. So I was thinking, I'm getting pretty good at this by now. But no, that's not why. It's actually because I realized in writing The Summer I Met Jack, it's because although it was based on real circumstances and a real problem happening on Nantucket's easternmost side, the erosion that's causing homes to fall over the bluff, there are no real people in it. And that's why it was so easy, because the research wasn't as hard. And I've always written about lesser-known people from history. In my first book, A Paris Apartment, was a courtesan. In my second, it's the Duchess of Marlborough, who there were only 2 biographies written about her. One was written by a frenemy, and so a little unreliable, if you ask me. And when that book came out, I'm actually quoted in an interview saying, I would never write about someone really studied like Thomas Jefferson or John F. Kennedy. Well, I will never write about Jefferson, I promise you that. And as Deandra mentioned, I read over 200 books to research this book, thousands of articles. I flew to Cape Cod to look at things on microfiche, not available online. I did interviews. I was desperate to get a hold of. Alicia did an article in a gossip magazine, in an Italian gossip magazine in 1961, and I was desperate to get a hold of this, and I found it. I ended up finding it on eBay, on like Italian eBay. Bought it, somebody cleaned out and it was like somebody cleaned out their grandparents' house, and it was in a stack of magazines. So I had to buy all these gossip magazines from 1960. I just wanted this one article, and I had that translated out of Italian, and on and on. And one thing that the people ask a lot is, well, where is the line between fact and fiction? This is a novel. It is fiction. I'm not purporting this to be a biography by any stretch, but I try to make it plausible. I try to build my stories around all the known facts, which is why when they're lesser known people, it's much easier because you only have a few known facts. So I want to take all the known facts, and I want to try to explain these facts by weaving fiction around it. So while it is fiction, I want it to be plausible. I want there to be nothing in there where you can say, well, this couldn't have happened because A, B, and C. I want it to be plausible. That's my whole goal, and so I was very committed to not only getting the Kennedy timeline right, but Alicia's, and then just the different eras that this takes place in. The Kennedys were really hard to research for obvious reasons, because there's a lot of information, and despite the hair and the teeth and all that, they can be very unlikable. They did a lot of shady things. And sometimes it was hard. I had to dig deep, especially with Jack, to find empathy for him at times. Also, I did not wish to die. Now, before you think I'm a complete conspiracy nut, let's all remember that, as everybody knows, they used the mafia to get JFK elected, and they killed Marilyn Monroe, obviously. Now, before you guys think that I'm too crazy, not one but 2 writers were murdered while working on JFK-related manuscripts. So, if I go missing, you know where to find me. The Kennedys, they made me insane at times, but even more excruciating was the woman who died, the potential baby mama. So, if you think the Kennedys are interesting, wait until you meet Alicia Corning Clark. Now, Alicia didn't kill anyone, probably, but her second husband's death was a little sketchy, if you ask me. Either way, she was much harder to research and pin down than anyone named Kennedy. I came across thousands of documents about her, interviews, articles, government paperwork, mentions in the gossip rags. She was in the gossip pages all the time in the 50s and 60s. And let me tell you, she was 100 different people at once. At the most basic level, Alicia was a Jewish Polish refugee who came to the States in 1950 from a displaced persons camp in Germany. Interestingly enough, as I dug into my research, my father-in-law came from the same displaced persons camp in Germany as she did, around the same time. Now, he was 2 years old, and he was also way too normal to be in this story. So that's the last you'll hear about him. She emigrated to the States in 1950, was engaged to JFK in 1951. Then she made her way to Hollywood in the 1952-53 timeframe and married for the first time in 1957 to an English actor named Edmund Purdom. She moved to Europe and then to Rome specifically and lived the La Dolce Vita lifestyle in the heyday. Her real name is actually Barbara Kupczynska, and which meant right off the bat I was researching two people. On top of that, Kupczynska was spelled a dozen different ways. Now my married name is Bilski, which is a very easy Polish name, and people screw that up constantly, so I can only imagine with that. Well, I don't need to imagine because I've seen it. Anyway, so Barbara chose Alicia Dar for her stage name, but she was also known as Barbara Dar, Barbara Marie Dar, Alicia Dar with a J, Alicia Clark, Alicia Purdom Clark, Barbara Purdom, Alicia Gay, and every other permutation of all of those names you could possibly devise. Every once in a while, someone would call her Alice, and I would just want to throw my computer against the wall. Now, Alicia was born in 1926, or was it 30? 32, 36? Oh, she claimed all of these dates and more, on government documents, no less. When I said she died at age 79 in 2016, that would have put her birth year at 1936, which would have made her 14 when she had her affair with Jack. Now, he was a little sketchy, we all know, but I feel very confident that she was probably around 20 when they really were engaged. She lied about her age, which that's not a big surprise for a wannabe Hollywood starlet, or for many people, honestly, but that's just the start. I mentioned she was born in Poland, but papers also called her Viennese, European, Middle European, and a few times she was an English subject or an American, which she never actually was. Alicia said her parents died in the war. She said they were back in Poland. They were in Germany. Her mom came with her to the States. Her mom was living a comfortable life in Boston. Her mom died in a camp. As for her occupation, Alicia was a model, a starlet, a freedom fighter, a bit player, a Hollywood film star, an actor's agent, a producer. She was an artist, an art student, a portrait painter, an impressionist painter, and an abstract painter. Papers called her a socialite, a housewife, a prostitute, a wealthy heiress before she actually was one, and one of the most chin-up widows this town has ever seen. She's described as honey-haired, tanned and talkative, that uninhibited little blonde, and a pretty slim refugee. I wear a size 6, she told reporters, but it has to be taken in. Papers also called her a modern Cinderella, a controversial gal, the 13-day bride, and American college men named her one of the top 3 playgirls of 1962. Alicia Purdom Clark is back in town, one gossip noted, and how very nice for a dull season. In addition to JFK, Alicia dated Gary Cooper, William Holden, Ty Power, Roberto Rossellini, Warren Beatty, Omar Sharif, and Katharine Hepburn. Alicia was married 3 times, to an actor, as I mentioned, an heir to the singer sewing machine fortune, and a bodybuilder turned Bohemian health minister. She was maybe married a 4th to a Roman bistro owner, but I couldn't really tie that one down, so I left it to the side. But she was engaged a lot, usually to some sort of prince or a Borghese or something along those lines. So, as you can see, she was a bit of a tricky character. Then there was the bribe. The $500,000 Robert Kennedy may or may not have paid her a few days before JFK's inauguration. This tidbit came out publicly in 1977 when J. Edgar Hoover's files were released under the Freedom of Information Act, and she was all over his papers. He even wrote a memo stating that he'd warned Bobby he was well aware of money paid to, quote, a woman who had been engaged to marry his brother in 1951. When all this came out, the New York Times said, the apparent connection is that it was Mrs. Purdom who was bringing suit against the president-elect and to whom $500,000 was paid to drop the case in 1961. Now, doesn't that seem strange to anyone? Engaged in 1951, paid off in 1961? Why would she be paid off for an affair that happened 10 years before he was married, before he'd even met Jackie? He was free to date whoever he wanted. He dated a Nazi spy. I mean, why not a refugee? And also, $500,000 was a lot of money then. It's a lot of money now. I mean, our own president hasn't paid off people that much. So, but of course, when this came out for the first time in 1977, for the first time in her entire life, Alicia Corning Clark could not be reached for comment, which she lived to comment. So naturally, I had lots of questions. Was there really a $500,000 bribe offer? And did she accept it? And what the heck happened between 1951 and 1961 that would cause this bribe to arise? And where does this alleged love child fit in? So, The Summer I Met Jack is my interpretation of the known facts. But again, it's fiction, so if you're Kennedy or in the Mafia or whatever, it's fiction. Thank you.